Welcome to Math with Michelle, where math finally makes sense. Whether you're tackling high school math or diving into college algebra, I'm here to break it down step by step with real examples and zero stress. From algebra to functions, graphs to equations, I've got it covered. Hit that like button and let's master math together. Welcome to Basic Constructions. When you're going to use constructions and stuff, it's really a great idea because it's a great visual. So you're going to need what's called a compass, not like north, south, east, west, but a circle maker, and some kind of straight edge. I just happen to have my mirror, so it's just got a nice straight edge. It makes it easy to draw. Okay, so the first thing that you're going to want to do is to practice making circles. So you've got your pointy end and you've got your pencil end. And as you make it wider and narrower, that changes the size of your circle. So I know some people try to hold it on end and they try to physically move this, and it can result in sliding all over the place, kind of like what I was doing there. So what I encourage instead, let me zoom out here, is to instead of trying to hold this still, put a lot of pressure on the pointy end and a little bit of pressure on the lead side, and move your paper instead. I find that makes a much smoother circle. So before making constructions, just see if you can make full circles. Okay, so that's going to be the key thing to it, is just having a nice pretty circle can help make everything better. And I got off when I picked it up. So sometimes it also helps to put a point where you're going to be working from. So why are we going to do basic constructions is because you want to be able to visualize this geometry stuff, because maybe geometry is not your strong point. So by doing this, you'll be able to copy an angle. You should be able to copy a segment. And you should be able to bisect them. Okay, before we get any further, copy just means make one that is of the same congruent size. Bisect, okay? Well, bi is a prefix like in bicycle. Bicycle has two wheels, so bisect is to cut them into two congruent parts. So bisect, split into two parts. So if I have A to B right here, and I want to copy that segment, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put a mark, and I'm going to call this one C. And then I'm just going to come up here. Instead of getting a ruler out and having to try to read the lines, I'm actually just going to go, well, hey, they're this far apart, right? So I'm going to come down here and I'm like, as long as I put it anywhere on this mark, it's going to be the same length. I don't care whether you put your next letter here or here or here or here or here. It's going to be the same length. Why? Well, if you think about it, AB is the radius of your circle, right? So if you come over here and you draw a second circle with the same radius, wouldn't the center to any edge be the same? Absolutely. So that's a really nice key thing. So how could we actually start doing this? Well, I'm going to draw a line, X to Y. And I don't want a ruler anywhere in your hand, because if you have a ruler in your hand, then that's going to kind of defeat the idea. Okay? We are going to construct what's called a perpendicular bisector. Okay? So we are going to construct a perpendicular bisector. Now, if you didn't remember, perpendicular, which I used a symbol for that, perpendicular means they made it a 90-degree angle. Now, could I get my piece of paper out or my book and come in here and draw a perpendicular line? Yes, I could. Would it meet at 90 degrees? Yes, assuming it wasn't like chipped off. But bisector means it cuts perfectly in the middle. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that this is longer than halfway. And now it visually is definitely longer than halfway. And I'm going to draw a semicircle. I could draw a full circle, but it would go off my paper. So I'm here, and I'm just drawing my semicircle. Okay, now without changing the radius size, you need the same radius size. Draw a semicircle at Y. Okay, you might notice like there's a little like football in the middle here. If we were to connect the top of the football to the bottom of the football, okay, it now looks like a plus sign, right? And if I went ahead and I got a piece of paper, does that not look like a perfect corner? Yeah, that's because it's perpendicular. Now the bisect part, did it cut it into 2 equal spots? Well, let's see. Let's shorten this down so that it measures the one side. See, I'm using it as a measuring tool. No need for a ruler. Just tighten this down. Okay, so that's how long that is. So now I'm going to slide it over, and it matched. So if you have to do a bunch of these constructions, I recommend getting a compass that has a little wheel in the middle because they're a lot more stable. Okay? Now, you should practice that a couple times. Pause this video. Can you make 2 or 3 of them? Just repeat it, okay? But what we finished was I need a point in the middle, so I'll put M for middle. X to M is congruent to M to Y. And that's because we bisected it. So if the left side is 10 meters, the right side is 10 meters. So make sure that you know how to draw a perpendicular bisector. Also, we copied the segment, right? I showed you how to copy. You just have to draw 2 circles. Any point from the center to the side of the circle is going to be the same length. Okay. So we copied a segment. We've bisected a line. What about bisecting an angle? Okay. So first, draw an angle, any angle. Probably don't want it too wide, but I'm going to make it decently obtuse. Now, could you go and find a protractor and measure this angle and things like that? Yes, you could. Okay, we need letters, so X, Y, Z. Okay, I'm going to shorten this up a little bit just so it doesn't go off my angle. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do is you're going to draw part of the circle at Y. Could you draw the whole circle? Yes, you absolutely could. Okay, so I'm going to draw a part of my circle. Again, I like moving my paper. Why not draw a little more of the circle? Okay, so I've drawn most of the circle. Doesn't really matter. In this case, because it's longer, I'm going to go ahead and extend this wider. Now, from this point here and this point here, because they're congruent distance from Y, we could draw the full circle. We're just going to draw small arcs. So we're going to come out here, and I want to make like an X marks the spot kind of thing in the middle here. So from my point that I made, I'm going to draw an arc. From my other point that I made, I am going to draw another arc. And now we have X marks the spot. We're going to connect that to Y with our straight edge. Okay. And let me call this A. Now, one thing we can notice is that from the original side to the purple line. I'm shortening my compass, so I'm making it smaller so I can measure. I'm measuring along the edge of the circle. So see how that measures there? And we pop over here, and it measures the same, which tells us that this half the angle and this half the angle are the exact same size. So this arc is congruent to this arc, meaning the measure of angle XYA is congruent to the measure of angle AYZ. Therefore, we have bisected an angle. We did not measure anything with a ruler. We did not measure it with a protractor. So make sure that you understand how to do that. Now, can we use this to draw parallel lines? The thing is absolutely yes. It's so cool. So here's a random line, okay? Should have drawn that with a straight edge because I got a little curvy. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and draw a random pink line. Okay, now I want to draw a second pink line parallel to my first pink line. So all I'm going to do is I need to copy my angle. So there's my arc. I'm going to come up here to, we'll call this A, and we'll call this B. Let me extend that a little bit north, a little bit further up just in case I need it. So just like we can copy a length and we can bisect a length, we can actually copy an angle, and by copying the angle, we get parallel lines. So using the same radius, right, we're going to come up here, we're going to draw an arc. And now I'm going to measure. How wide did this mouth open up? How wide did it open? Keep checking. There. So now I need this mouth to open the same width. Oh, I almost didn't draw it long enough. So right there. And so connect this. And now we should have parallel pink lines. So meaning, whiten this out. There's this measurement, check, and this measurement, check. In fact, I should be able to follow along the whole way, assuming my hand's not too shaky. Absolutely. So constructing these things are a great way to visual. So congruent means the same size. Bisect means to cut into two equal pieces. So emphasis on the word bi as a prefix. Bi meaning two, so bisect, cut into two equal pieces. Angle bisector, segment bisector. Okay, so keep that in mind. Angle bisector is going to take an angle and it's going to cut it into two congruent angles, right? Where this side matches this side. Segment bisector cuts it into two congruent segments. And if your segment bisector happens to be a perpendicular bisector, that means it cut it into two equal pieces and it met at a 90-degree angle. Thanks for learning with me here on Math with Michelle. If this helped, give it a like and don't forget to subscribe for more clear and simple math lessons. Got a question or topic you want me to cover? And drop it in the comments. Until next time, keep practicing, stay curious, and remember, you've got this.